I will get you to Zimbabwe. I would like to invite you to follow me on a path to Zimbabwe, to Gokwe South, which is in the western center of Zimbabwe. And I will just briefly on Laudato Si. We are a German NGO working on development and humanitarian issues in 37 countries, assisting 10 million people annually. If you want to have a look, this is our website. So now we're going to Zimbabwe, a country where we work since 1980s, annual turnover around 7 million euros, and we're assisting around 300,000 people. So for this session, we were trying to look what kind of data is available actually for food loss in Zimbabwe. We found one study from 2015 estimating tomato losses of around 50%. This is just from the field to marketing. This is nothing else. And maize losses at around 40%. So you can see the problem is really substantial. At the moment, the current situation in Zimbabwe, due to a severe drought, almost 3 million people rely at the moment on food assistance. The economy is really almost broken down. We have 290% inflation on an annual basis. You can see in such a difficult environment we are working. And in Gokwe South, which is a major production area, but really the smallholder farmers are living there mainly on subsistence. For a long time, they had no possibility to market their produce. We have came up with a so-called agricultural business center approach, which is a start-up, which is a social business where Welthungerhilfe, we as an NGO with the support of the European Union, are one of the main shareholders together with the Farmer Association and with local private investors and with a Zimbabwean NGO called Amprotech. So the idea is to provide services to farmers, but also to link them up to markets and also link them up to financial institutions and to external investors. That's the main idea, and the Amprotech element is also to provide training to youth to increase their entrepreneurial skills. So what has this to do with food loss? Just to guide you through the services of the ABC. So we are providing extension, training, awareness, of course, of, for example, food loss. We are providing resources, material, inputs, fertilizers, pesticides, better seeds, etc., etc. We have come up with a digital innovation or 2 digital innovations in Zimbabwe supported by FAO and the UK government. We came up with an application, AgriShare, to improve access to machinery. It works like a Uber app or a bicycle renting app, just with agriculture machinery. And an app called Mamari, which means making money with agriculture, where all kinds of information is there on the crops and on weather data, market information, market platform, and so on and so on. Then this ABC is providing storage and transport. I just understood the metal store, for example, also has been introduced there, and many other technologies, packaging, bulking, and so on. Administrative support, contracting, for example, extremely important with wholesalers, with a private business, so that farmers knows what to grow actually. Providing the market access, create the network with other NGOs also, with other civil society organizations, and provide employment and income through this training of young people. So this is the ABC. In the center, just briefly, these are the 2 apps. You can also look them up in the internet. They're really, really interesting. In particular, the AgriShare There are a few farmers who have actually machinery, also processing machinery, but many others don't have that. And to bring these kind of two parties together, this is the idea of the AgriShare app. It is the only one which is existing in Zimbabwe, and probably there are not so many around so far, in particular in such difficult places like Zimbabwe. So how does all this lead to a reduction of food loss? As I said, it starts actually before the production with, for example, better seeds, with information on how to market, when to market, and to whom to market. So this is extremely important to have extension, to have technology before actually the production starts, and then, of course, throughout the production process. Then when we come to the processing stage, to have the right technology, to know to whom actually to market. This is reducing substantially the amount of discarded crops, because quality is then normally higher if you have better inputs, if you have better machinery for processing and for transport. And then, of course, as I mentioned, with the introduction of better technologies, for example, a processor for groundnuts, you have less infestation of aflatoxins, which is very important because otherwise farmers have difficulties to market their produce. And the latest is, of course, the market access. All this has to be seen rather in a food systems approach and not so linear as it is described here. Maybe for the next session I will use a little bit a different form of describing it, but as somebody said before, we are really working in a very, very complex environment, in a very difficult environment, and to get this system in a good way is quite some effort. And to be honest, this is quite a courageous undertaking, and this company hasn't reached the break-even point yet. But still, we are quite confident that even in this difficult economic environment like Zimbabwe, we will get in 2 to latest 3 years, we will have reached the break-even, because one can make money with agriculture, but it may take a little while. Thank you very much.